Nima was a quiet, kind-hearted boy who lived in a small village nestled at the foot of the mountains. Every morning, long before the sun had a chance to warm the earth, he walked the same narrow road to work. He enjoyed the silence of the early hours. It gave him space to think, to dream, to just be. One particularly cold morning, the air grew heavy and thick snow began to fall. At first it was gentle, a soft dusting of white. But soon the wind began to howl, picking up a fierce intensity Nima had never experienced before. The familiar road he walked every day slowly vanished, swallowed by a thick, unforgiving blanket of white. Nima kept moving forward, his instincts telling him home was just ahead, but something felt deeply wrong. The world around him was changing. Then, in an instant, everything went completely silent. When Nima opened his eyes, the road was gone. The village was gone. He was standing in the heart of the majestic Himalayas, surrounded by towering, snow-capped peaks that pierced the clouds. There were no houses, no people, just the biting cold air and an overwhelming sense of mystery. He was lost. As Nima began to walk, his small boots sinking deep into the fresh powder, he heard a sound, a heavy footstep behind him. Crunch, crunch. It was slow, deliberate, and powerful. His heart hammered against his ribs. Gathering all his courage, he turned around slowly and froze. Standing before him was a creature of legend, a massive, white-furred being with deep, soulful eyes and large, trembling hands. It was a Yeti, but the fear Nima felt was mirrored in the creature's eyes. The Yeti was just as frightened. He had only ever known humans to run, to scream, to hunt. He had never seen one stand so still, so close. For a long, breathless moment, they simply stared at each other. Two lonely souls connected by a shared sense of fear and wonder. And then, something completely unexpected happened. Nima smiled. A small, gentle smile that reached his eyes. That night, the snowstorm raged on, trapping Nima in the vast, cold wilderness. He had nowhere to go, no shelter from the relentless wind. The Yeti watched him from a distance, a conflict of curiosity and caution warring within him. Finally, breaking a lifetime of hiding, the Yeti moved. He gathered dry branches from beneath the snow-covered pines and, with a skill born from solitude, built a small, crackling fire. He placed some strange-looking mountain roots and berries nearby, then retreated to a safe distance. Nima understood the gesture. It was an offering of peace. That night, they sat on opposite sides of the fire, two different worlds united by the warm glow. They didn't speak, but for the first time neither of them felt truly alone. In the days that followed, a quiet trust began to form. The Yeti, with his intimate knowledge of the mountains, showed Nima secret paths winding through icy caves and over hidden ridges. In return, Nima taught the Yeti something he'd never known: how to laugh. He would tell silly stories and make funny faces, and soon the Yeti's deep, rumbling chuckles would echo through the valleys. For the first time in his long, lonely life, the Yeti felt safe. One evening, as soft snowflakes drifted down like tiny stars, Nima looked at his new friend. "You shouldn't be alone," he said softly, his voice barely a whisper against the wind. "Everyone deserves a name." The Yeti tilted his massive head, his dark eyes filled with curiosity. Nima's smile returned.
"I'll call you Migo."
The name was a gift, the first one Migo had ever received. His eyes lit up with a light that seemed to rival the stars above. He finally had something that was his. He was Migo, but their peaceful existence was not to last. One morning, the crisp mountain air was shattered by the sound of distant voices. People, shouts, and the crackle of radios echoed through the canyons. Scientists and hunters, armed with nets and cameras, were searching for the legendary Yeti. They didn't want a friend. They wanted proof. They wanted to capture him, to study him, to turn him from a living, feeling being into a specimen. Terror seized Migo. He had spent his life hiding, but he didn't know how to hide forever from so many. Nima saw the fear in his friend's eyes and took his large, furry hand. "They don't need to find you," he said with a fierce determination. "I'll protect you." Together, they worked to lead the search party astray. They created false trails that led to dead ends, used the mountain's echoes to confuse their sense of direction, and guided them into patches of deep, disorienting fog. Migo, the master of the mountains, and Nima, the clever boy with a loyal heart, became a perfect team. At last, the voices faded, and the sounds of the hunt disappeared. When the danger had passed, a profound quietness settled over the mountains once more. Nima knew his time here was ending. As he stood on a high ridge, the world around him began to shimmer. The towering Himalayas slowly faded, and through the magical mist, the familiar road back to his village reappeared. He turned back one last time. Migo was standing on the ridge, his silhouette framed against the rising sun. He raised a hand and waved. Nima waved back. No words were needed. Their friendship wasn't bound by place or time. Some bonds don't end with goodbye. They simply find a permanent home in the heart. And now, sometimes when the wind blows just right through the mountain passes near Nima's village, he swears he can hear a deep, joyful laughter echoing in the snow. And he smiles.